Around 5,000 years ago, at the end of Mahabharat War, the ancient enlightened Hindu civilization consisted of 10,000 Hindu traditions, or sampradayas, that existed in 56 Hindu nations, 200 Hindu kingdoms, 1,700 Hindu provinces that covered more than 6 million kilometers square of Asia. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, SPH, Bhagavan Sri Nityananda Paramashivam, is the reviver of Kailasa, this ancient, enlightened Hindu civilizational nation. Kailasa is an unbroken cultural, religious, historical, civilizational, and sovereign continuation and revival of multiple of these historical Hindu sovereign states and Hindu ecclesiastical entities. The unbroken continuity of these ancient Hindu nations through Kailasa results in the legal recognition of Kailasa as per the international customary law, particularly the doctrine of continuity. The international law, the doctrine of continuity, implies that upheavals and revolutions within a country, changes in government, territorial adjustments, measures taken during military occupation, or other internal transformations do not negate the existence of the country, do not affect the legal personality and international obligations of the country or state. The Vienna Convention on Succession of States in Respect of Treaties, 1978, addresses these principles of the doctrine of continuity as it outlines international law during situation of state succession or continuation. International law recognizes a state's legal personality by recognizing its identity. This perspective extends even during the period when the given state or country is annexed or occupied by a foreign power. Even in such cases, the legal personality of the state is considered to persist, enabling its subsequent re-establishment. Historical examples dating back to the 18th century include cases like Portugal and Genoa that were re-established after the Vienna Congress of 1815. More recent examples include countries such as Poland, Ethiopia, Czechoslovakia, Albania, and Austria that were re-established after World War II. Even when a nation is deprived of its territory, the nation continues to exist. Its sovereignty and international legal personality continues to persist. The Dalai Lama, as the spiritual and temporal leader of Tibet, exemplifies this principle. In 1959, the Dalai Lama was exiled and forced to flee. Despite the challenges faced, the Dalai Lama continues to advocate for the preservation of Tibetan culture and garners worldwide support for Tibetan autonomy on the global stage. Similarly, from 1309 to 1376, the Pope of Catholicism had been in exile in Avignon. Despite this, he was recognized as the head of state as well as head of the church and given full privileges of the position after their return to Rome. Even in 1861, much of the papal territories had been lost, leaving the Pope with no sovereign territory other than the papal residence and related buildings. Yet his temporal powers were still acknowledged. He was recognized as a head of state, and later, the Lateran Treaty of 1929 formally re-established papal sovereignty over the Vatican City. The Sovereign Order of Malta further exemplifies this principle, retaining international recognition as a sovereign entity despite the permanent loss of their territory upon Napoleon's invasion in June 1798. Despite such permanent loss of territory, the sovereignty and the international legal personality of the Sovereign Order of Malta continue to persist. Much later in 1894, the order settled in Rome and acquired two properties, the Magistral Palace and the Magistral Villa that received extraterritorial status. Today, the order maintains diplomatic relations with 112 countries, issues its own diplomatic passports, currency, stamps, and vehicle registration plates, and has been granted observer status in the United Nations. All these examples of state re-establishment illustrate the principle of continuity of states, as per international law, that a state's legal personality persists over time. A nation continues to exist even after a complete loss of territory. A far more striking example is of the oceanic countries, which are under the threat of their entire nation being drowned and submerged due to rising sea levels owing to global warming. In response to such existential threat of climate change, Pacific Island nations, including Tuvalu, have enacted constitutional amendments and made international declarations affirming that their nation and their sovereign rights will continue to persist, despite their entire territory being lost to the sea. This proactive stance is highlighted in the Constitution of Tuvalu Act 2023 and the Pacific Islands Forum Declaration of 2021. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Sri Nityananda Paramashiva, through the line of succession is the present 203rd Emperor of the Hindu Sovereign Kingdom of Surangi Samrajya. He was crowned on the 31st of December 2004 at the age of 26. Thus, by very same principles of the doctrine of continuity, through which the international legal personality of Portugal, Genoa, Poland, Ethiopia, Czechoslovakia, Albania, Austria, Vatican, Tibet, Sovereign Order of Malta, and several other nations has been recognized despite having undergone a period of exile, annexation, occupation by a foreign power, or despite loss of territory. The SPH Nityananda Paramashivam, through well-established legal and historical facts about the Hindu sovereign state of the Surangi Samrajyam, derives all sovereign rights and powers of the royal lineage of the Surangi Samrajyam as its 203rd sovereign emperor, from his inheritance and continuation of the unbroken succession of the kingdom of Surya Vamsa Surangi Samrajyam Sarvanapitha. Surya Vamsa Surangi Samrajyam, through unification with 20 other sovereign Hindu states and sovereign ecclesiastical, historical entities, became part of the United States of Kailasa, which thus became a sovereign, independent juridical state, with the SPH Nityananda Paramashivam as the sovereign. Just as how the oceanic nations like Tuvalu have safeguarded their sovereignty from the existential threat of total submersion by amending their constitution and asserting that their sovereignty will persist regardless of the loss of their territory, Kailasa, which is a sovereign continuation of 21 sovereign Hindu states and sovereign ecclesiastical historical entities, is also reviving and continuing the Kumari Kandam Hindu nations that got submerged. As per the doctrine of continuity, these facts imply that the Kailasa's statehood is recognized by international law and manifests as a natural outcome of well-established historical legal facts. Become part of this revival of the Hindu nation. Share your time, talent, and treasure to Kailasa, the world's first nations for Hindus. Sign up as a citizen